Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm paranoid now, so somebody tell me the audio is working. Just make sure it's happening. Can you guys hear me? For some reason, the chat seems a little slow for me too. I'll make sure all this stuff is working right. Can you guys hear me? Okay, yeah, all right, there you are. I see you're coming in. Just seems a little delayed or something. What's happening? How's everybody this week? Hope you're all good. Oh, what happened this week? It's just Groundhog Day. I come here every day. I finished the video for this guy. I talked about it last week. That's gonna come out tomorrow or the next day. Really good sounding tube overdrive. You guys are gonna like that. Tube overdrive meets distortion. Really sounds like an amp channel in a box. What else did I do? I did my video on the mic mount, the robotic mic mount. So if you guys didn't see that, that's out. The from what the heck's it called? Somebody help me out here. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, where the mic moves around in front of the cabinet so you can get different sounds. I love that thing. Dynamount. That's it. Finally came to me. What have I got? What else did I do? Oh yeah, put out the Guitar World, my second Guitar World review for the Red 7 amp. Duality 120, so that's out. Somebody's asking if I've heard the new AC/DC, James Taylor. Never took James Taylor for an AC/DC fan, but you never know. No, I'm just kidding, James. I know you get that all the time. I'm sorry. Sorry to even go there. And somebody else is commenting on my Austin Guitar House shirt. What a great store. It was a nice visit I had there. I did a clinic there last year, I guess so. Yeah, last year. AC/DC. Yeah, I did listen to it. I think it sounds really good. I like two of the songs quite a bit. I need to listen to it more. It's sort of, it's cool to hear a new AC/DC album no matter what. It sort of sounds like business as usual to me, but which is what we want from AC/DC, right? But two of the tunes. Okay, here's my one criticism that I found. It's a lot of tunes that are the same tempo. Boom, 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 one into another with the same kind of groove. That so like kind of front loaded like that. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody though. So there's the one tune that's kind of faster, and I'm forgetting the name of it now, but it's halfway through the album. It's got really cool, and the guitars sound great, and it's kind of tough riff, clean riff and stuff. And that was a nice change of pace. One thing I loved about AC/DC back in the day was they would do the Jack, and then they would do Dirty Deeds, and then they would do, obviously Back in Black. Those are all very different grooves. Right? You know what I'm talking about. So really mixing up the tempos, fast grooves, slow grooves, and then some shuffles even, like the Jack. And so, if it gets too or, if it's just too much of that kind of like, I don't know what it is, like that sort of tempo, then it, but anyways, but it's cool. It's great. I can't, how can we complain? It's great to have some new rock and roll music this year, and just really nice that Phil's there and Brian's there and Cliff's there, and it's like the band, basically the 80 era band, except for Malcolm, of course, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, but they're doing the best they can with a young in the band. So what else? Steve Stevens sent me a great video you guys should check out yesterday. It's on YouTube. It's Van Halen at Pasadena High School, I think. You'll find it if you just search Pasadena High School Van Halen. And Eddie's just like, the tone is so raw and not that dirty. I mean, it's dirty, but it's like mid-70s dirty, and he's before pre-tapping and stuff, really, and everything. So it sounds great. You guys should check it out. So cool. Anyways, what else have we got here? Glenn is asking about the best Dumble amp clone. I don't know much about that. I don't have I've never had a Bluto tone, or, you know, I've played very few of them. I have a Hedgehog, and that's my closest thing. And I think it's great, but I don't really, I've played through a couple Dumbles. I played through one in Japan, a combo a couple of years ago, and that was really fun. It sounded great, I thought. But I don't know that it sounded like, it did sound really great. I don't know that it sounded better than the Hedgehog or something. I think there's a lot of kind of like, I don't know, man. So to be honest, some of these amps that's so expensive and all that, it's like, I feel like the best sounding amps that I've played through that are really, you know, kind of magical and all that. I mean, some old Marshalls that are great. Some an AC30s that are really, an AC30s can be really magical if they're like from the right kind of like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the speakers or something, but whether it's silvers or blues or whatever was in them, you know, at a certain era. But like Linda Perry had one where the top boost was where the top boost controls were on the back, you know, the bass and treble or whatever it was that they would, you know, the tack on top boost that happened maybe around 1962 or 63 or something when they first came out with that. And her amp, the copper panel, that amp, just, it's that magic chimey harmonic thing that just sounds unbelievable. But like my Comet 60, which is right there, actually that wasn't the first one I had, this is the second one, but that was an amp that I plugged into and I thought, oh my God, it sounds amazing. Like really amazing the first time I plugged into one. I remember it was at the amp shop on Lancashire in the Valley, and I plugged into one and I played one note, kind of turned it up, and I played one note, and the one note took off into three notes, you know, with the harmonics and everything. And I was like, oh, this amp's going to be good. And I just knew it. And that was a new boutique, but, you know, available amplifier, right? And so then a couple of years later, I met Gene from, anybody remember, Ultrasound Rehearsal in New York, and they had all those great amps. He's a terrific guy named Gene that owned that place. And he had like 5 train wrecks, and which of course, you know, the Comet, the Comet Concorde used to be called the KF50 or Ken Fisher 50, was his kind of take on an EL34 circuit. And so when I got my Concorde, I was really blown away. And, you know, there's that train wreck lineage there and all that. And anyway, so I got to play all these train wrecks in one day. I played one that belonged to George Lynch. I played one that belonged to the Reverend Willie G, and a couple other ones and stuff. And I got to be honest, I thought they were really cool. And the George Lynch one was my favorite, but I liked my Comet just as much, if not more. It was a little more powerful. I'm a bit more of a rock player, and so it was a little, you know, the Concorde was 50 watts as opposed to like 30, and it just sounded more like my thing. So I don't know, the Dumble thing, like the $75,000 amps and stuff, and I don't know. Anyways, never played a Dumble, says Rich, but Mad Professor Symbol is my favorite drive for solo tones. I did a video of that pedal years ago. Super dynamic with great sustain. You know, I'm more in the Friedman sort of camp where he's like, yeah, I'm not really into that thing. I mean, I like it. I like that sound, but you can see that I've got various incarnations of Marshall going on back here, and I don't have a Dumble style, and there's a reason for that, because I'm just, well, we were just talking about AC/DC. I mean, I'm an AC/DC Eddie Van Halen disciple at heart, you know, and the clean bluesy thing, clean drive bluesy thing, or if it's overdriven, it's really smooth, was never really my thing. So, although I like it, and I like it when I hear other people do it, but it just, when I play through it, I always feel like I'm visiting. You know, this is a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live here. I don't know. That's just how you know, I'm a Marshall guy. The 68 Marshall Plexi that just kicks ass is, you know, which is why I bonded with the Concorde, because it really is like a slightly more refined version of that sound. The Concorde has a really similar sound to a cranked Marshall. To me, it's the EL34s and all that, but it's a little more refined and a little richer. It's so rich sounding through the mids. It has this really wonderful like mid-range, that amp, which is why I've always kept. I used to have 2, and I sold one to Lyle Workman, great guitar player, and I kept the other one, and Lyle loves it too for that reason. Actually, Lyle's a Marshall guy, really, I think, at heart. He has a great 50, and he says that he loves to do doubles. You know, if he does a double with the Marshall on one side and the Comet on the other side, he thinks they complement each other really great, like just different enough to be really cool. So Steve says he picked up a PT 112 cab. Sounds huge for such a little thing. Cool. Yeah, they're great little cabs, especially with the speaker we chose. I think with the Creamback 75 is a great speaker in a 112. Great all around. Really terrific. So I'm glad you liked it. Stealth Parrot says it was cool. John was okay with you reviewing the Red 7 amp. Yeah, I made sure to talk to, both John and the artist relations guy, and we really went back and forth on it for a little bit just to make sure. I was like, I do not want to do anything that makes you guys uncomfortable because I have such a great relationship with Suhr. But I started looking around at other folks. Like I used Rabia as an example, who makes great videos in the UK, and he's got, his own signature products and stuff, but he does gear demos of everything. And I said, it just seems like I live in that, like I'm definitely in that Rabia camp. That's who I am. I'm not Steve Vai or somebody that, is, well, Steve Vai's making videos on YouTube now too, but you know what I mean? I'm not, I'm one of these YouTube people, for better or for worse, I guess, right? So it's part of what we do, I guess. And so it's a new sort of paradigm, I think. And I think, I just sort of said, I think that I can make this so that it doesn't conflict in a way where it's like I'm a reviewer guy and everything, but everybody knows my choices when I have an amplifier that I'm going to use on tour and as my main thing. That I'm, what I'm bringing to the table is, as far as R&D and design and stuff, what I want, stuff like that. I can have these guys, and not have it be confusing if, Guitar World wants me to do a review of something else. So, yeah, that's that. Todd Roy says, how am I? I'm pretty good. Just kind of getting through it like all of us, right? Optimistic and stoked to be here with y'all. So I'm all right. It's gonna be a weird holiday season, right? I don't know what is happening. I think I'm just gonna kind of lay really low and do my own thing and not have any contact with the outside world. No, I don't know. I'm gonna kind of take it easy. Let's just get this year over with, right? And move on. Let's see here. What else we got here? Who else is here in the chat? Ben's here, I do believe. Lauren's here. Good to see you guys. And do I produce? Yeah, I do. I produced a record for this girl Holly Henderson a couple of years ago, and that was really a lot of fun. I'd love to get more into production, actually. Like, I'd love to be going into studios and stuff and doing full albums with bands and stuff eventually and doing that. I'd love to tackle that at some point, but I don't sort of just want to do anything either. Like I'd want to be really selective about what it is that I do, just because I want to make sure I love it and not have to do it for work or something, So luckily I don't have to do that right now. So, let's see here. Archdeacon Music says, big fan ever since I saw your improv on Paul David's collaboration video. Thank you, man. I really appreciate the kind words. Yeah, that was really fun. Paul put out a video where we all played over top of a nice chord progression, a really soulful kind of, it was like everybody takes an 8-bar solo. And it was really fun. I enjoyed hearing everybody's take. It's always fun. Paul comes up with great ideas for videos and then executes really well. Have you seen the new Japanese Fender modern Strats? They look strangely familiar. I haven't. Do they look like my guitar? I should check it out. Let's take a look. Do a little search. Fender Japan modern Strat. At the end of the day, my guitar. Oh, you're not kidding. Wow. They really do, don't they? But at the end of the day, my guitar was really, oh yeah, God, they even did a black one, and they are pretty close, aren't they? Interesting though, they're made in Japan. There's not a lot of guitars that are made in Japan, Fender Japan, that are then saying, wow, they really do, don't they? They're really, well, there you go. It's all coming full circle, right? They look nice. My guitar was really a Suhr standard that was a takeoff on guitars that I saw John making all the way back in the 80s, Pensa Suhrs that I saw folks like Mark Knopfler and Peter Frampton playing. So it's all so close, at this point. Really what it comes down to though is for instance on that guitar they don't have the bridge. You're not going to have that great bridge that we have, which is a huge part of the guitar to me at this point, as well as it looks like it's a maple neck, so it becomes a different guitar, at that point. Maple neck, there's some different things going on. It's just cosmetics, But I'm glad we made a classy looking guitar, and I'm glad other people like it. Did I miss a top chat? I think I did. I'm gonna go back and check it out here. No, I didn't. That was Rich with comments about his cymbal. That's right. Best semi-acoustic. Think on Takamine. Just says John Nolan. So you're asking what I like for acoustics with pickups. I do like Takamine. I think they're a great option. I like my Taylors too. I've got a few. I've got my Martin D28, but I had a different pickup put in it than what it came with. So I had a LR Baggs system put in it with the sensor and the bridge saddle pickup that you can blend, and I really like that. I've got a terrific Takamine, and they've always, they're just great, really solid guitars that are well made, really easy to play, and generally speaking, they sound good plugged in. I really like Taylors though too, with the Taylor with the Neve designed, the 3 simple knobs on it is great. The Taylor, I mean, a lot of Taylors have that system. I don't mean there's one Taylor, but terrific, So all 3 of those I enjoy. My Taylor 12-string sounds glorious plugged in, and it's got that Neve design pickup preamp thing. Wyatt Willis is up there in the top chat, and he says, what are your thoughts of the Bob Brockway to mic a cab, 57 on one speaker with whatever other mic on a different speaker? Sure. That's what I'm doing right now. Miking 2 speakers. I have a 57 on. I've got my 4. If you watch you can actually see, if you watch the Dynamount video I put out this week, I've got a 412 that's flipped over. So it's the bottom speakers I'm miking, but they're further off the ground, right? They become the top speakers. And I've got a ribbon mic on one, and I've got the Dynamount with 57 on the other one. Works great. You get a slightly, no 2 speakers sound exactly the same, especially after they break in and stuff. So you get a little variety, I guess, by miking the 2 different speakers. I think Bob Rock likes 421. He mentioned, with the 57, which is a classic combo. So I've got a ribbon in the 57 right now. I don't think he's, talking about miking like a greenback and a V30 or something. I think it's more like, 2 V30s in the same cabinet or whatever, and he just mics the different ones. Plexico is up there in the top chat. What's up, man? He says, ever consider sitting down and playing a steel guitar? I love that sound, but not really. I've more thought about like just learning to play slide properly, but never like really tackling steel guitar per se, I know some folks that have done that, like Josh Gooch he plays with Sheryl Crow, and he really tackled that and got good at it, and then he moved to Nashville and stuff, and that became his thing. If you get into that, it's a small pool of players generally wherever you are, and you can really find work, I think, because of that. It's kind of cool. Rick Lewis says, he's up there in the super chat. He says, put this in my cart through your Sweetwater link. Caitlin Bread Epoch. How do you always do I say that right? Boost EP3. Any suggestion on it or other EP3 type boost pedal clones? I'm sure that one's good. They make great pedals. The one I have and I have it on my board, is the Clinch Effects EP Pre. So that's another one. It's from Australia, and I really love it. I think it's a great sounding pedal. Dina says, "Hi Pete, when will the Amp movie be released?" Are you talking about that Amplifier movie that I did? It's out. You can stream it. Amplifier, I think it's called, instead of Empire. Amplifier. I think you can stream it off their website. I'm not sure if that's the one you mean, but Double Life, a tribute to the cars, is up there in the super chat, and he says, "Hey Pete, I need an HSS recommendations for V63s, Thornbucker or Thornbucker Plus, cover or no cover." The cover thing is really just about the look you want, because the cover affects the tone very little. That's purposely why we went with that nickel cover. So you could go either way. If it's in an alder or ash kind of guitar with a maple neck, I'd go for the Plus model. Yeah, maybe, and you can get a zebra or black one, or that always can look cool. So whatever you decide to go with. But I would go with definitely V63s are kind of becoming my favorite singles. I love them. But yeah, I'd go Plus, and then just go for the look you want. Don't worry about the tone, because it really doesn't change very much. We listened. Aquila says, "My favorite slide is Richie Blackmore on that Dio song called Catch the Rainbow. He hit some really nice notes. I'd like to listen to that." John Nolan says, "Pete, what do you think about the Spark amp?" Never tried it, so I'm not sure. That's a positive grid, right? I haven't done a lot with them. I did a couple videos for them way back, like 4 years ago or something, for a version of their plugin, but that's it. I'm Anonymous says, "Been a fan forever. Your work for Guitar World rocks." Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here and being a part of Sunday Live. We've got 372 people online. Nice to have you all here. Have you tried bare knuckle brute force pickups? Haven't tried that model. I've got bare knuckle Steve Stevens, pickups in my Steve Stevens model, and it's a hot guitar, and I like it actually. It's nice to have guitars around a couple with the hot pickups, because it's not really my thing, like the super hot pickups, but like it's cool to have for, like, occasionally I'm like, what would be good on this track right now is that guitar. And actually you can hear it in the Red 7 video. I used it on one rhythm part, the Red 7 video. And so sometimes I'll do that where I like double one guitar part, and then I'll do the rhythm part on the other side with like that guitar, and it's got a distinctly different sound, and it's really cool. So it's good to have that variety. If Suhr never existed, what amp would you own out of all the amps available, says Braxall. Before I started working with Suhr, I bought my Friedman. It was called I had the second Marcia ever made, which was, Dave made a prototype, and then he made me one. So I was a fan back then. It was a great sounding amp. Looked like a 4-hole Marshall, and it said Marshall on it, but that was it was basically like the prototype for the BE. So I loved that. So I've been friends with Dave forever, so I bet I'd probably be, doing things with him. That divided by 13 that's right there I had before I started working with Suhr, and this amp went around the world with me, really. I mean, I did a lot of touring with Chris Cornell with that as my clean amp. For a while I was using, like, if you see videos of us in South America at that big festival we did in Argentina or different things, that amp's on stage. It's that one with an EVH 5150, the first Fender incarnation of that amp, for my dirty sound, and then I would kick that Comet in for leads. I had 3 amps on stage. So I've had a lot of amps for a long time. That Top Hat too, that's right back there. I've had that since 99 or 2000 or something, 20 years. So I'd probably be still doing what I was doing before, which is being amps for different tones and stuff like that. It was John that came to me and said, I think I could make you happy on the road with a channel switcher. And I didn't really like clean channels on amps before. On amps that were mainly dirty amps, I didn't like, You know, it was like, oh, the clean, because, you know, I was used to this, which is like, this thing sounds great. I used it on a session yesterday. It's a good AC30 is what it is. It's a very distinct, great sounding amp. So I was used to single channel, really, you know, I had my old Bassman, my Fender Bassman, the great sounding amp, you know, great clean sound. I was used to like, you know, good 60s Fender clean or good AC30, basically. In the studio with Linda Perry, I would use, you know, for sessions, I would use her AC30 that I mentioned a while ago, which was amazing, and a Fender Deluxe. It was its original 65 Deluxe or something. So that was my benchmark. And in order to, you know, he's like, I think I can make you happy with the channel switcher. The clean channel had to sound that, you know, something in the ballpark of being that good as a great old Fender or a great old Vox or something. And often they just sort of seem like an afterthought in amps to me. They don't have that 3D quality or whatever, you know. But he'd been making a great clean channel for a long time in an OD100. I just never tried it. And similar to me, his benchmark was like, you know, super. He had a beautiful super reverb, and he just really knew. You know, been doing stuff for great guitar players forever, and designed the 3 Plus preamp and all that stuff back in the day, and was really serious about good clean sounds. He wasn't just that's the thing about Suhr. He's not just an overdrive guy. He's really likes nice clean sounds, sparkly, great cleans. So I guess it just really worked when he made me a channel switcher. Okay, I'm so long-winded about this. Sorry, guys. Do you know the James Tressart guitars? This is Gary. I actually have one, Gary. I have a nice one that's in my storage space right now, and I should really get it and use it. If you look on my YouTube channel, you'll find a video of me playing a James Tressart T with a Bigsby, and I loved, you know, the tones I could get out of that guitar. So I ordered one. I used it. It's a very specific guitar. It's the metal body one, you know, and it's a cool guitar. It's not something I would play all the time. It has a very nice neck on it and stuff, and I do enjoy playing it, but it's, you know, metal body. It's like a certain thing, you know. So I've got this guitar, and it's something that I haven't used it on tour since 2014, I don't think, 2015. And it's really been sitting, and I should, it's just one of those, I consider it with the Bigsby and the metal body and stuff, kind of a specialty guitar. But if I need a guitar that's got that sound, to Bigsby or whatever, I can always, it's unique, you know, if I need to play some rockabilly or do something that's like got a kind of a, you know, a certain tone, I'll bust that one out. Arthur says, what's cracking? Cheers on Wolfgang carrying on and releasing his musical creations. Cheers to Wolfgang carrying on. Yeah. Thanks, Arthur. And thanks for doing the super chat. Appreciate it, my friend. Wolfgang Van Halen is going to be on, that's right, it's tomorrow on Stern, right? And he's releasing his first single tomorrow, which is great. I can't wait to hear it, you know. He's been through such a hard time recently, obviously. And I love that he's using this time to kind of, I think it's great, like that he's kind of put some music out and kind of change the focus maybe a little bit and stuff. And, you know, he's worked hard on that record for years, I know. So I slurped really loud. Sorry about that. So rude. But I can't wait to hear it. I'm really excited to hear what it sounds like. You know, he plays everything on the record. So he's a badass drummer. He's a badass bass player. He can sing his ass off. He can play great guitar. So I can't wait to hear what he does. And, you know, we wish him all the best. Jesse Hicks is up there in the top chat. And he says, with no NAMM show, when do you think next year's Fender stuff will be released? Well, I would assume that that everybody's going to kind of do a virtual NAMM thing where there's going to be a bunch of products released around that same time. You know, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I would assume that that's kind of what's happening. So it'll be an interesting time to see what happens. I wonder what happens with NAMM now, you know, as far as, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see, you know. I know manufacturers, they probably some things they really like about it, and there's a lot of things they really despise about, you know, the cost, the expense, the effort, you know, feel a lot of pressure. It's a lot of NAMM's a lot of pressure for folks that make gear to kind of conform to everything that you have to do to go there and show up with product and, you know, put on a good show. And I think they feel like it's in some ways like a colossal waste of resources and stuff, having to, you know, in this world that we live in now where everything's online anyway and stuff. Why do you got to go to a place and actually, you know, so it just seems, you know, we'll see what happens. I love it on a, you know, just being selfish. I love going there and hanging out with all my friends and seeing tons of gear, and I always have a great time. So I hope it carries on. It does seem like it's really expensive though for those guys. You know, some of the booths, I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but it's even a small booth. I mean, small. Okay, what's small? Down in the Hall E downstairs, if you have a booth that's pretty good, I mean, it's like 20-25 grand for like a decent sized booth. And so for a small company to go there and, you know, and then on up, right, to like, you know, I've heard of people spending $40,000, $100,000 to whatever, you know, their booth expense as well as just the expense of getting there and everything. You know, it's for these companies, it can be really difficult, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Jay Frockon says, here's a few dollars for your haircut fund. Hey man, I'm going to let it go, but thank you. I think I'm just going to let it go till March. That's what I was thinking. I'll let it go till March and then get a haircut and we'll see what it looks like. You know, it seems like a good, you know, let's go another 4 months or something like that. Right? What is it now? November, December, January, February, March, something like that. But thank you. I'll save your donation until March. G'day, how's it going? Says Spice Boy up there in the super chat. Question, if I may, about your effects loops on your heads. Do you pull them out to connect? Would it be okay to patch bay them? Interesting question. Do you pull them out to connect? I see what you mean. Because they're, yeah. Well, the PT100 is not in the, you know, it's right here, so I can get to it, and it would be the main amp that I have that has a loop. Now, yes, I would just, like the Soldano, for instance, in the JHS video that I put out about a week ago, I used the pedal in the effects loop of the Soldano, and to do that, I've got a Korg delay, SDD 3000 or whatever they're called, sitting up here, and I ran some long 10-foot cables or whatever down to the Soldano down there, and I just pull it out and plug it in, you know. Patch bay. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you could use like something like the Friedman buffer bay or something. Patch bays, generally speaking, are they can be ground loop kind of nightmares and stuff if you've got other things plugged into them, and then you're connecting multiple pieces of gear, you know, guitar amps and things. I would use something like a Friedman buffer bay or have like a little custom patch box made, probably, if I wanted to do that. Now, okay, so the MP up there actually has an effects loop in it, and you can connect effects loops from your heads to it, and then it will send out to the effects. So when you switch amps, the effects loop switches too, if that makes sense. So if I really wanted to do it, I could. But generally, all that said, generally speaking, I'm not hooking up effects loops in. Oh, the one thing I do have is my power station over here, right? My VHT Fryat, excuse me, power station sitting right here, and it's got an effects loop in it. And so my main output of all the heads coming out of I've got 3 outputs: the Suhr reactive load, the aux out of the MP, and then a speaker one, right? That runs out to my speaker line in the other room. 3 outputs. The speaker line that's coming out hits the power station first, so that I can reduce the volume going to the cabinet in the other room if I want to, and use the power station as a load and reamp. And the power station has an effects loop in it. So that's where I've got the Korg delay that sits up here actually hooked up. It's hooked up in the loop of the power station, and I can add a little bit of echo if I want to, or some modulation, because it does that. You know, just mono delay if I want to do that before it hits the cab out there. That works great. That's really enough, like, because anything else that I want to do when I'm recording an amp, I'll do in the DAW. You know, I'll just add effects after in the DAW. Hope that makes sense. 430 people here. Great to have you all here. If anybody doesn't understand any of what I just said and they're interesting, just ask and I can explain it further. But just the way that I've kind of grown to work here. Your thoughts on Rivera amps? Rarely hear about them, says Florent. Rivera's, I've never owned one. I've played through a few. I generally speaking, I really like the clean channels. I think he's really good at Fendery cleans. The Overdrives is not stuff that I've really. I know he has a few that kind of like Marshally drive channels and Fendery clean channels, but I never just, I don't know. I played through a few, I guess. Okay, the last one I tried was his recording preamp, which actually has a power amp, like a 20-watt 6v6 or something built in, probably not dissimilar to my amp. And I thought the clean channel sounded beautiful, really great. The drive channel, I was like, but I like, I know Paul Jr. and I did reviews of some of their, like the Rock Crusher and the Rock Crusher recording and stuff, but never really their amps that much. So it's one of those things. There's so much stuff out there, right? It's just hard to, stay on top of everything. Anyone watch the Metallica fundraiser last night, says Todd Roy. I did not. I didn't even know it was happening. I know like Foo Fighters had a live stream last night too. And I didn't see that either. I was working here for a while. Have you ever played a 1959 Les Paul? Sure, yeah, quite a few actually. My friend has one, Brian Ray. He's got a beautiful one. He's had two actually, and I played them both. Just for a minute, anyone else's 59. I've played what's that, Emerald City Guitars up in Seattle. They've always got bursts in there, and I played a 59 in there. I remember them having like a 59 and a 60, I think, at the same point. And one of them had the neck. One of them was like kind of minty, and the other one had a neck that had been really like played. The guitar had been played, and it had actually indentations in the neck from the guy's fingers, and maybe he wore rings or something. And so there was these divots in the neck in certain chord positions and stuff. That was really interesting. But I think that was the 59, really worn one. And I played a numerous 57s. I had a 54. I used to own a gold top, so a great one. Sold it. I owned it for like 2 or 3 years in the 90s. I made one record with it, my first record when I got a record deal, and I sold it. And I have basically self-loathing that I need some therapy to get over ever since that moment. So I've often thought about buying another one if I could find one that was a reasonable price. It was a kind of a player. It had a headstock repair, and the top had been refinned at some point in the 70s, but it looked totally original. It was like already checked again and had some greening on it and stuff. So it was really cool. All the parts were original, and it had that great sort of slight V neck on it. It was a wonderful guitar, and I can't believe I sold it. Music Therapy Laz is up there in the super chat, and he says, for the coffee fund, and like look forward to the next album. I think you were saying, how's it coming along? Well, it's not right now, but I will do it. I should just start. It's not like I'm not recording every day. I am. I'm just doing other things. But yeah, I should put out another record. You're right. Make me feel guilty. What else we got here? Let's see. Don't forget to mash that like, said, it was probably Ben. I'm not sure, but thank you. What is your favorite coffee, says Jesse D. I just found this, I'm not going to remember the name of it now. I found it at Whole Foods, and it's really good. It's kind of a medium roast, really, but they call it dark. And I can't remember that. Ask me next week. I'll look because I need to buy more. Actually, I need to go shopping today. So I'll get some, and then I'll tell you, damn, it's good. I've kind of drifted away from darker roasts and getting more into specific medium roast coffee. I've got snobby. And just with oat milk, and so good. We're actually talking about around the space here, talking about getting a coffee maker in here, like a serious, at least spending $500 or $600 and getting like a really serious, decently serious. I guess really serious would be like $3,000, but like a quality Italian coffee maker here. And because right now I'm drinking bullshit, so Keurig, which is like what, and it's we need to up our game around this joint. So. Yeah. Do another Kickstarter. That seemed to work well. I didn't do Kickstarter for, that's Ian. I didn't do Kickstarter for my last record. It was Pledge Music. And I am very, very lucky to have not gotten completely reamed like a lot of people did in the Pledge Music thing. I think Steve Vai, I think there's a lot of people that ended up when Pledge Music kind of went under. My friend Jurgen, I mean, he was like, in other words, what happened with Pledge was they would, take pre-orders from people, they collect the money, they take a part of their share or whatever, and then they give the money to you once you've fulfilled all the, you know, whether it was CDs and T-shirts or whatever it was. So I managed to come out unscathed, although it was a little difficult to get paid. And the very last, portion of the funds took a while to get, and I did get it. And I'll attribute that to my friend Dennis that helped me with the whole Pledge Music thing to start with. He was pretty good friends with somebody that started that company. So maybe he pulled some strings or something. I don't know, but maybe his friendship. And I feel very fortunate that I came out of that relatively unscathed, because it was not good for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't get paid. Like my friend Jurgen, I know he, you know, in other words, folks had gotten into the pre-sale, paid the money, and Kickstarter made, or not Kickstarter, Pledge made off with that dough. And then you're stuck with, the artists are stuck with the, you know, having to fulfill, because otherwise your fans will hate you, right? So I think it was like bust out the credit card and go 10 grand into debt, just, you know, making CDs and whatever he had to fulfill to. So that's like, you know, as an independent artist, it's already tough. And then that happens, you know, so it was really difficult. So I don't know that I would do another one of those, but at least not, certainly not with that company, because I don't think they're around anymore. I don't know what ended up happening with them over, but Braxall says, do I have a decent toilet here in the studio? It works. It definitely works. That's the most important thing, I guess, right? What speaker cab do you prefer to use with your divided by 13 RSA 31? I had a 212. I still have it. That has it was like Fred would do a divided by 13 212, and Fred would do a mix of a blue and an H30, and that's what I always used with it. And I would always mic the blue for the, you know, the full AC30 thing. And it always sounded really good. Yeah, Brett Laszlo is asking about the Pledge thing. He says, you're talking about Pledge. I remember you saying you had to reship the CDs when you were touring in Japan at the time, if I remember right. Yeah, some people didn't get their stuff. Not sure whose fault that was, because you would, the fulfillment company, I can't remember exactly if it was Pledge that would fulfill or how it worked. I don't remember right now, but it was all connected to that same thing. There was a few people that didn't get their things, and I physically just went and mailed the CDs myself. Eventually, after people, there was a couple shirts and like some stuff. There was like 5 to 10 people that there was issues with them getting their stuff. Like, hey, I paid my money, I never got my stuff, you know. And I was like, I'll take care of it. And I just went and did it myself, and just, but that was a small, you know, price to pay or worry compared to what some of my friends had to go through with that company and deal with fulfilling all the stuff that, you know, Pledge basically just took in the money and then disappeared, and then left a lot of artists, you know, holding the bag. Like now they got to send all the stuff and they're not going to get paid. It was really fucked up, is what it was. Archdeacon Music is up there in the top chat, and he says, I see you use 2 notes. Sometimes, yes. I have a Mesa 525 Express Plus. Can you put together a tutorial on how to get the best tone using 2 notes cutting signal to amp? It's up to you, man. I mean, honestly, I feel like I've done a fair amount of videos for the different products. I mean, you know, you pretty much plug the amp into the load box and then pick the cabinet you want, and that's really it. I don't know how else I could help beyond that, because it's going to be your personal preference with that particular amp. I don't have that amp, or you know, that amp's going to be unique, and you're going to want to pick a speaker sound that you like. I will tell you that with the 2 notes cabs, I find there's a lot of options there, and there's many that I don't like, and that's just me personally. And then there's a few that I do. And so, like, if you watch my video for the 2 notes, what's the small cab M pedal? I did a demo for that, and I show you in that video actually what some of the ones that I drift towards. You know, I remember the greenback loaded Nuno Betancourt signature cabinet. It was like a Randall cabinet, I think, that had greenbacks in it. It sounded really good to me. It sounded like, yeah, that's what a greenback's supposed to sound like. And that's my only I like the 2 notes stuff in general. That was my only, I found it difficult sometimes to find cabs. I found I had to wade through a lot of stuff to find stuff that I like, which is not any reflection on, other people, things that I don't like tonally, other people could find great. So it's just me personally. But the Nuno one sounded right to me, that cabinet. And in particular, the 421 mic, I think. 421 on the on the Nuno 412. That sounded like a good cab. So try that with your, but then again, you might not even like greenbacks and you might be a V30 person. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. Okay, what else have we got here? What else we got? Gabrielle says, I don't know how to say that word in Italian, but Gaggia. I would be hesitant to try and pronounce it. It's a coffee maker. It makes a semi-automatic in the same red as your sound panels. As a born Italian, I can tell you I like this. It is more than an adequate espresso maker. It goes for about 400. It's funny because that's the one that we were talking about, is that company. So thank you for the recommendation, and I will look at that. And now that I appreciate Italy is the best coffee in the world. There's absolutely no doubt that you go to Italy and there's no bad coffee. What they call bad coffee, I'm like, this is amazing. So, over there, they know their coffee and they know their pizza and they know their wine. It's a hell of a place. I had fun there last year. I did. The Amalfi Coast. Oh, that's a nice spot. Naples is a little tough, but I enjoyed going. I enjoyed the clinic I did there a lot, and I enjoyed going to Pompeii, and then I went to the Amalfi Coast, and that's like, wow, what a place. Just the bus ride there is beautiful and scary too. You're winding down this mountain road, but it's super curvy and like looking down, but oh God, it's beautiful. Anyways, what a place. Team 73 says, Pete, when playing, recording, improvising, how do you turn a mistake or surprise into something cool? Play that note again. Like you meant to. What's your approach or thoughts on that? A little chaos is good sometimes, Also getting a little distance, like finishing out the take and then maybe giving it a minute, go get a coffee or go eat something, come back and take a listen. You might not even hear what you thought was a mistake. You might, if it's bad enough, but sometimes I get so hypercritical of a part when I'm recording it. Every little phrasing thing and getting this lick clean, and I'll play it and I'll feel like, oh, I can tell I didn't, I've already moved on to the next phrase. I'm like, that wasn't clean enough. And you're sort of tricking yourself in a way. It's like, if you can just get through the part and then get away from it, and you come back and listen and go, it sounds fine. I don't know what I was feeling in the moment or whatever, but it sounds good, and that's the most important thing. So like, yeah, a little distance and not being too hard on yourself and not doing it over and over and over and over and over again and getting frustrated, like getting away from it for a minute and coming back and listening, going, oh, it's totally there. What happens is you tend to hyper analyze the part, and it's like you're going in and you're just pinpointing in the music, that one little thing, and you're not hearing the song as a whole. And if you can get away from it and not hear just that thing, but listen to the music with that thing as a part of it, then all of a sudden you get this perspective, because you can lose perspective as you're microanalyzing one little part and trying to play it. It's not a bad thing to microanalyze and play. Like if you're trying to really rhythmically lock something or make sure it's super groovy, locked with the kick drum, whatever. But what happens is you tunnel into it and you go into that one little thing and you don't hear the music as a whole anymore. So it's good to then get the perspective, because sometimes I'll cut parts and go, oh, it's not quite there. And then, like I say, I come back and I listen. I'm like, sounds fine as soon as you get away from it for a minute. So give yourself that, cut yourself some slack to get away from it and listen and have some perspective. And sometimes mistakes are cool. I always get like the Hot Blooded guitar solo, where he's going, and he slides up the string, and there's like a kind of a sloppy thing, but it's so rock and roll and cool. It's awesome. It's like, I don't know. It's great. I always use that one as like where you can definitely hear a mistake, and then, but it's cool. Somebody was asking if Chris Cornell was as interested in gear as me. Sorry, and I just lost the comment because the chat shifted. Nick S is there in the super chat. I'll just answer his question really quick and then I'll come back to that. Thoughts on the Headrush full range speaker? Really great. These guys, they sound terrific. I'm going to do a video for them. I've got their looper here, and it's a little daunting because it looks unbelievable and amazing, but I know it's going to take a few days to get into it, and I've got to devote like half a week to it to really do a proper video. So I think what I'm going to do is do a video on the speakers first, the full range cabinets, because they are terrific, and that's something that I know a lot of people are probably interested in and could use for Axe Effects or Helix or, you know, even like my PT15 plugging direct into it. So I'm going to have a mic in the room here or something and just set up those cabs so that I can demonstrate kind of what they sound like. They're really loud, they're really light, and they're terrific. I mean, they weigh nothing and they sound really good. Nice little monitor for sure. So Chris Cornell in gear, yeah, he was kind of into it. He was kind of into it. Not really guitar stuff. I mean, he was in his own way. He wasn't like I would say so. He was always searching. Okay, like on the last tour, he was using 2 PT100 heads. The last Soundgarden tour, he'd shifted to that. So I was working fairly closely with him, getting him acquainted with the heads and the cabinets. And he used them in a really interesting way, where he would like to sometimes change the channel on one, but not on the other one. And I would be like, oh, that could be problematic because it's sometimes amps the phase will flip when you go from the clean channel to the distortion channel. There's just no way around it. And so I'd be like, your amps might end up out of phase if you do that. But he was experimenting with it and he wanted to try things like that. So, you know, he had one kind of that I think he would leave on one sound, and then the other one he would flip to different sounds is what he was doing. I found it unique. And then like he got really into pedals, and he would ask me about pedals, and like some of these guys, the Caroline Guitar Company, there was, you know, he was really into their pedals, and he liked them a lot. And I think he had their fuzz and maybe one of their delays, maybe the Kilobyte, that I had recommended to him, and he got and dug those a lot. What else? What other gear? Oh, I'd set him up with a reactive load. And he had recorded some stuff using the reactive load. He had a PT100. He had 3 PT100s, actually. Like he bought one and had one at home, and then he had 2 on the road. One was mine. I lent to him because he was, you know, he was really into them and stuff. And then he was going on tour, and I was like, you're going to need 2 for tour, at least have one for backup and stuff. And then he didn't want to take his one at home. I said, just take one of mine. Like, you don't have to spend all this money and buy all these guitar amps. So I gave him a cabinet and a head and anyways, what was the point? The point was that I set him up with a reactive load as well at the same time. So he had just gotten into using the reactive load. I got him set up with a plug-in at home and loaded a bunch of IRs for him and stuff like that. And he had just started doing that stuff and recording some tracks and demos and stuff. I think probably for for the Soundgarden recording. At home with I was getting emails from him who were like, this is unbelievable, you know, like he was totally into the whole IR thing and being able to track silently with the reactive load and stuff, really loving that. The freak out pedal, he loved that. I remember, like, I would get things and I would send him like, you got to check this out, and he was always interested. So I guess he was kind of into it, you know, into gear. He certainly knew about recording and how to set up his own vocal was always a thing I remember, because he really liked to do that himself. Even in big studios, he liked to tweak his, you know, like the Neve preamp and the, you know, 1176, and he had a great like setup with Chandler mic pre's and all kinds of stuff, you know, at home. And so he was into gear for sure. Anyways, what are your thoughts on Nuno Betancourt? He is one of my all-time favorites, and has his music ever influenced you? Yeah. When he came out, I found him really fresh, and, you know, his funky kind of revved up, you know, style of rock guitar playing. I found him different and, you know, kind of intelligent playing and advanced, not in the same camp as a lot of the sort of hair metal bands. Wasn't, you know, entirely different than the. There was still a good time party rock and roll kind of 80s thing going on there, but it was a little more. It wasn't Poison. It had its own thing, and he was an intelligent, obviously, guy that was obviously super accomplished and had a advanced style, and he's an interesting guitar player for sure. I mean, a terrific guitar player. So yeah. What else do we got here? Let's see. Just looking through the questions and stuff. You guys are talking Italian pizza, Italian coffee makers, and disapproving of pineapple on pizza. I like pineapple on pizza. I do. I can get into the Hawaiian pizza thing. Robert says Ross Halfin posted some pictures of Chris Cornell with Phil Anselmo from Pantera and me standing in the back with my guitar. Yeah, that's true. That's funny. I'd never seen that picture before, but I remember the day. That was from Download, 2009, the Download Festival. That was the photo. It's like him and Phil and then me standing there with my guitar. Kind of funny. I remember that. I remember standing there. It's like, it doesn't feel that long ago. Strange, right? This was another picture that Ross took that day of our band from standing outside those green dressing rooms. I like to call it Donington instead of Download. But anyway, have you had a chance to try the Suhr Thornley JM yet? I have, yeah. It's cool. It's got a great big V neck on it, kind of a unique neck shape. Nice guitar. Unique looking guitar. Well, we got 517 people online. That's awesome. Thank you for being here, everybody. Great to have you here. Can you share some of your favorite custom guitar builders? Been to NAMM, love the boutique section. Gil Urin, big Gil fan. He's great. Who else? These are the one that really came to mind. Custom guitar builders. We're talking about. I like the. There's a section, a luthier section at NAMM, and these are like small builders that when I think of that, I think more about acoustics, because maybe years ago this store called Dream Guitars sent me all these acoustics, and there was a Benedetto acoustic it was a baritone, and that guitar, oh my god. And I did demos of these on my channel, but if you've seen that, Kathy, what's her name, Wingert, what a beautiful guitar she made as well that they sent to me to do a review of. That was a gorgeous acoustic. I think she's somewhere in the LA area. But wow, all these guitars showed up. It was at my house at the time to make videos, and I remember like FedEx showed up with 5 boxes, and each of these guitars was somewhere between like $9,000 and $12,000. It was like $60,000 of guitars showed up, and I was like, I felt like all this pressure, like to get these videos done and get these guitars back on the FedEx truck and out of my house, because it was just like, wow, this is a lot of But it was amazing to like open up the boxes and pull out these beautiful custom guitars, where maybe these are guitar makers that maybe make 10 a year or something, small builders that one at a time, and gorgeous guitars. So anyways, good times. John Hutchison says near field monitor suggestions, $1,000 to $3,000 range. My favorites are the Atom A7X now, and they'll fit your budget at about $1,500. Focals are the other ones that I've really mixed on and felt instantly comfortable in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. I have a pair of Barefoots here. They're more than that though. So they're kind of out of your range, but I would say the Focals and the Atoms, look at those. For me, they work. It's such a personal thing, near field monitors. I tried a different set recently. That is a set that a company's coming out with that they asked me to check out. And I just kind of like it's so different than what I'm used to that I kind of just didn't really. It was like it's that feeling where you wouldn't know what is going on. Like you'd be trying to mix and be like, I don't know if the guitar sounds good or not, or if it's in the, and that's not a good feeling for me. You know, it needs to be comfortable where it's like, I know exactly what's happening with the sound right now. I need to add this or take this out, and I can feel comfortable about it. And that's different for everybody, because for some people, Dynaudios might be the way, or there's all these different companies. I don't know, Genelex and vocals. I felt really, you put on a record that and listen to it and go, or a recording you've made and go like, I know what's going on. That sounds like the mix is translating that I made to, they're supposed to be flat and unforgiving. And sometimes I find they all sound so different, studio monitors. It's kind of weird. It's like, like how can one that's supposed to be flat and unforgiving sound so different than another one that's supposed to be flat and unforgiving? So, it's generally speaking, I like speakers that are articulate and maybe more forward in the upper mids, because I started on NS10s. So an NS10 is like, if you mix on old NS10s, you can, and the mix is right, you can kind of hear the bass, and the guitars and the snare drum are like ripping your head off. That's when it's right, which is the furthest thing from flat, but that's what I was coming from. So then I needed a speaker that maybe sounded better than an NS10 or whatever better means, but still had that aggression in the upper. I don't want it to be fatiguing, but there's got to be a clarity to it. And some of them to me sound too relaxed in the top end and the upper mids. Like not enough detail, and I can't tell what the hell's going on with the guitars. Same thing with in-ear monitors, by the way. With in-ear monitors, it's a good tip if anybody out there buys in-ears. Many times you'll see them with more and more drivers, and they'll get more and more expensive, like 3 driver, 4 driver, 6 driver, 12 drivers, More drivers means more bass, generally speaking, is what I've found. And that might work for some people for their style of music, or maybe the instrument they play. Maybe it's great for drums, or great for, if you want to really hear the kick drum and, lots of bass. For vocalists and for guitar players, we need mid-range, articulate, fairly forward mid-range, because that's where our instruments live. And if it's too relaxed in the mids, both with studio monitors and in-ears, I can't tell what the hell's going on with the music. So, yeah, that's that. My last pair of in-ears sounded so awful. Definitely bass heavy. I hated it, says Arthur. Yeah, I got some from a company once, and they were like, I'm not into these. And I hit them up, and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to. And they were the most expensive ones they made. They were $2,000, I think. And they said, yeah, you might want to try these ones. And they recommended some different ones to me. I got them. They were much better, and they had half the drivers. You don't need so much low end in in-ears, by the way, because there's subs on stage, and you're going to feel the low end. It's going to go right through you. So that you're on stage generally with the PA, or at least it's flowing around you or whatever. And it's like, there's low end that happen. Controlling low end on a big stage, or even on average stages, is always an issue. So it's like, why do you need to put more into your ears? You're going to feel it on the stage anyway, because lows go everywhere. Right, high end is directional, and low end just goes all over the place. So that's why you can have that's why when you've got a 5-1 system or whatever at home, or even 2, with a separate sub, the sub can sit anywhere in the room, and the other speakers that are highs and mids are the left and the right, or placed all around, because those are directional, because it's just the character of those frequencies. So lows go everywhere, and you don't need to stick more of them into your ears if you're playing an instrument that requires you to hear articulate mid-range for clarity. So it's really important. Spiel over. Amp sim or plugins you would recommend? The PT100 from Universal Audio and Brainworks. That's Overdrive Guitar Channel. No, honestly, try it. My plugin. It's been only for UA, but I believe that is changing at some point too, and it'll be available through Brainworks for other. You'll be able to get it and use it on other platforms. What other ones do I like? I think the Helix is quite good, actually. Helix Native. It sounds like a Helix. So, and I'm pretty accustomed with the Helix. I like to use my own IRs in the Helix, or different ones than what come with it. But when you do that, you can get some nice sounds. Definitely. A lot of people seem to really dig the new neural DSP stuff, so you can check that out too. I just did a demo of and made presets for Guitar Rig 6. Some nice sounds in there as well. Check all that stuff out. Alex B is up there in the super duper chat. He says, thanks as always for today. How would you compare the tone of your mahogany and maple Suhr signature to an alder super strat style guitar? So my guitar is not mahogany and maple. Oh, you mean the top? Of course, it's got a yeah. Sorry, you're right. I thought you meant the neck, but the neck is mahogany on my guitar. Just I'm not sure if that's what you mean or not, but it's mahogany body with a maple top and a mahogany neck and rosewood board. It's a little more warm through the mids than an alder guitar. Alder guitar is pretty warm too, but with a maple, generally an alder body, maple neck, you know, there's a little bit more of that snappy Strat thing or something. But yeah, my guitars have a certain richness to the mids, I find, that's really nice. It's just a slightly different sound. I don't know how to describe it other than warmth, but not dark. My guitars, it's still clear. So you just have to try it, but it's just a kind of, there's sort of rich sounding. Thank you for doing the super duper chat. Clayton is up there as well, and he says, Clinch EP Pre versus Schaefer replica pedals. Well, different. The Schaefer has its own thing going on. Really cool, though. And it's more of a boost for sure. You're going to be able to get, I think, more boost out of the Schaefer replica. There might be some compression going on in the Schaefer as well, because I think it was a companding kind of thing that would expander on the other. I don't know, but anyway, it's its own thing, and with the ability to boost more than something like the Clinch EP Pre, which has a fat kind of sound to it. But I like the EP Pre at about halfway on the volume, and maybe even a little. It's maybe doing 5 or 6 dB of boost at that at most. It's more got this fattening quality to the sound that's really unique, kind of a broadening. I don't know how else to describe it. Something to do with phase or something like that. And it's like something to do with phase or something like that. Thanks, Pete. That's great. That really tells me a lot. But no, that's what the Echoplex preamp used to do, something with the phase, I guess. And it had this fattening effect. There's other people that can tell you more about this than me, like Peter Clinch. Mike Wolf is up there in the top chat, and he says, hey Pete, just got a first generation Badger 30, love the mid gain and cleans. Thoughts on Suhr Eclipse or Revival Drive for pushing it to tighter high gain Marshall tones? Both should be good, I would think. Any other recommendations? I really like the plexi tone in front of it, which was the sound. If you see me on that video of the Iridium with Steve Stevens and Sebastian Bach, I'm using the plexi tone, an original one, a 3-button one, in front of the Badger. And it works great in front of that amp. Suhr Riot would work great too, definitely. A great thing in front of a Badger is a Coco boost too. Great tone, hitting it with the mid boost for lead. So try that. Maybe what you want is that, actually. If you're just looking for lead, it's really great. So set the amp up for crunch, like with the gain on 6 or 6.5, you know, rock and roll crunch, and then hit it with the Coco. I think Guthrie Govan used to do that when he would use a Badger. That was just basically his deal. What else? Just looking here, the Dyna Red would work really good. It's the one control version of a Dyna Red now. That's a great pedal. Yeah, so much out there that'll do this, honestly. What else? I've been using I used a Timmy yesterday, my new the little blue one, the little MXR Timmy. I used it on something. I love that pedal. It sounds so great for transparent kind of overdrive, like the Nashville thing, or when you just want kind of a, you know, I was recording a song that sounded kind of like Bruce Springsteen, sort of American rock and roll yesterday for someone, and that seemed like the right choice with the Strat or a Tele. I was like, I don't want it to sound like distorted really, and I used it in front of the PT15 clean channel. I want it to have a little bit of grind, but you know, that kind of like grindy rhythm where you can bang all the notes in the chord thing and pan hard left and right, make a kind of wall of American sounding guitars, and the Timmy sounded great for that. So good pedal, the little MXR Timmy. It's going to end up on my board, I think. What else? Hit the Badger with a TI boost. I don't know that one. T1 or TI boost. Who makes that? That's Aquila. I don't know that one. Have you ever tried the U-Sound Alpha Centauri overdrive pedal? Is that this one? because I have this one here. Yes, that's exactly what this is. This is a really great pedal made by a fellow in Russia. And he was a very nice guy. And he sent me this pedal. And I haven't done anything with it as far as a video or anything. And I don't know why. He was just so endearing, the fellow that made this pedal. And he really was excited about getting me one. And I felt guilty about it ever since because I haven't put anything out with it or anything. But it's like I think it's Cloney with some options, basically, with the mini switches and stuff like that. But there it is. So if you know him, please tell him that I said hello. And here's his pedal right here. And it is very cool. And I love the graphic as well. It's really cool. And he seems like a great guy. So I should do something with it for him one of these days, even just a quick video. It's hard. There's just not enough time in the day. But anyway, Pete loves that Timmy pedal. Gonna have to try it. Noble style, says T-Mitz. Maybe. It's its own thing. It's very transparent. I mean, you can turn it on and off and barely hear the difference with the gain set a certain way and then just dial in the right amount of gain. So it's like when you want that, when you've got a clean sound, you're like, I just need some more compression and a little bit of grind in the sound, but I don't want it to sound distorted or fizzy on the top end. Great pedal for that. Just when you turn up your amp kind of pedal, that's always the thing, mid-gain thing. Hi from Amsterdam, Holland, says Inti. Man, I love that city. I miss that place. I'm jealous that you're there and would love to get over there again sometime soon. My question is, with which kind of humbucker will you replace the humbucker in a Fender Ultra Series? I would like to know. Oh, and I just lost the chat jumped, as it does, and I hate that, but I can answer the question anyway. I'd go Thornbucker Plus. Give it a try with your singles. I mean, it's the ultimate in a hum single with the Thornbucker is great. It just balances really nicely with single coils. If you're like, look, I want a humbucker, but I don't want it to be like 10 times as loud. Okay, twice as loud when I go to the humbucker instead of the neck pickup. Oh, I would like to know your opinion. Yeah, try a Thornbucker Plus. It's a great pickup in a hum single. Honestly, terrific. Can anybody else concur that's out there? Have you tried it? Teamit says if I had to pick one, I'd get a PT Sig guitar in candy red. That color is really snappy. I think it's my favorite too, overall. It's the one I always gravitate towards playing, the red. I love red. I've always loved red. My first guitar was blue, but I sort of wish my mom got me this Hondo Strat copy, and they had the candy apple red and a blue one. She got me the blue one, and I liked I loved the guitar. The fact that I had an electric guitar was all I cared about at that point. But I dug the candy red one, and I secretly always kind of wish she'd gotten me the candy red one. Love you, Mom. Anyways. Gary says, when I use my Helix 4-cable method into Friedman JJ, there's a volume bump and a lot of hiss added to the signal that isn't there straight into the amp. Any ideas how to solve this? Okay, so the first thing is, if you use a 4-cable method, you need to use an isolation transformer on the send from the loop that you're sending to the input of the amplifier. Okay? You're going to get a little buzz there. So use one there. Samson makes one, or you can get one from Palmer. Just look for Palmer isolation transformer. Samson isolation transformer. Google search that and you will see a little box with 2 1/4-inch jacks on either end. That'll solve that problem. Other things you want to watch for is setting levels. You want to make sure that the levels are not set to line, but to instrument. And I think that would apply across the board with the Friedman JJ. I think it's got a pedal level loop in it. So just go into the general settings or whatever menu and make sure the ins and outs for the input should be obviously instrument coming in. The send out of what I assume you're using is loop 4 send to go to the front of the amp. Set that for instrument. Then you're going to have the send out of the amplifier effects loop coming back into the return of loop 4. You're going to want to set that for instrument level. And then you're going to want to have I always get lost at that point, 4-cable method, because truly I am an idiot. But yeah, so then you're going to take the output of the helix at instrument level back into the return of the JJ. Okay, so set it all for instrument level. I could have just said set it all for instrument level, not detailed all that, and not come across like an idiot. Tyler is up there in the top chat, and he says, super chat, he says, thoughts about putting a Neve style EQ preamp pedal, like a JHS color box, after Torpedo Cab M. You could. I don't know. I would probably use a good old MXR 10-band graphic or something like that, to be honest. Yeah, I'd use an MXR 10-band graphic. I don't know how close those pedals are, to be honest. Like the JHS color box, they might be really good, relatively close, but I don't think it's going to give you some sort of Neve magic preamp sound or something. You know, in order to do that, there's no substitute for the, I would say the, you know, going into an actual 1073 EQ or something to get what you're asking. You know, beyond that, like I say, yeah, use a 31-band graphic or a 10-band graphic MXR or something. Just make sure the level coming out isn't too hot, hitting the effect pedal. The thing about the color box is it was never really clean. I couldn't get a truly clean sound out of one. That's what I found. But it was an interesting sounding unit for like fuzz and stuff. Brad is up there in the super chat. He says, would you consider doing a live chat with Larry Carlton? God, I would be honored. Love your channel and look up to you as a player. Cheers, Brad from Sydney. Thanks, Brad, for doing the super duper chat. Hope you're well down there and having a lovely summertime in Australia. I'd love to have Larry Carlton, but I don't know any. I have no connections to him. Well, I kind of do, actually. Toss Panos. I gotta hit up Toss Panos anyway, but he's plays drums with him sometimes and stuff, I think. So I know a few people that know Larry Carlton, actually. I know Travis, his son. What am I talking about? I know all kinds of people. All right. Who else we got here? Thomas says, do you prefer to use your Suhr PT15 212 cab with a greenback and a V30, or the new PT15 112 with your PT15? Which speaker cabinet inspires you the most? More speakers always better. How different are the two cabinets? More speakers always better, but the 112 is obviously easier to carry, and it does sound really great with the amp. When I jam with a band, I never feel like 112 is enough. It just doesn't. They always sound a little boxy to me. Now, the PT112 is great, and that speaker in particular, the H, because it's really broad sounding to me. It's got a really full response, so it's not boxy sounding. That's why we chose it. It works well. But in a band, I need two speakers, generally speaking. That's not going to work for everybody. Or not. I'm sure I could get away with using one, but for truly satisfying low end, I don't know. Cabinets develop bass, right? So like a 412 cabinet with, with a plexi with, two 412s actually with a 50 watt or with a 100 watt Marshall with the bass rolled way down on the amp can sound like lots of low end. It can sound just great. And that's the cabinet developing the bass, the volume within the cabinet. And it just sounds really good to me. And when you turn up a smaller cabinet, a 112, 112s work great up to a certain point. And then when you get them up to loud drummer volume, it always sounds like a little congested, like or smaller, especially closed back. Like open back's different because it's a different sound. So a deluxe reverb cranked up with the back open and it's just kind of going everywhere and stuff. That's a really cool sound. It's different. There's no low end anyway. It's a deluxe reverb and it's like more like mids. It's all mids and kind of AC30s, right? We don't think of them as being like palm muting and getting tons of chunk, right? It's a mid-range thing. So it's a different sound and a really cool sound. The sound spreads everywhere. But when you put a speaker in a closed cabinet, I swear it'll work good up to a certain point. And then if there's not enough volume, it starts sounding, a little more boxy. So that is it. We did obviously it's got ports in it, and the speaker choice we made, we did the best we could in that 112, and I think it works awesome with that amp. It's a great little rig. But if I have my choice, I want to use a 212. 212 is a nice size cabinet. I don't need 412s anymore necessarily. I think both out of the original PT horizontal 212, we didn't go as big as a Bogner oversized, which is almost too much volume inside a 212 to me. I had one, I owned it. It was great, but it's got a lot of bass that develops in that cabinet for sure. When we designed ours, we tried some different sizes. the initial one that we did with, you remember the 70s Marshall 212s that were kind of like, they're not super deep. They're like this deep, you know, and then like we increased the depth and, you know, made it bigger till it was about that deep. And all of a sudden it was like, there's some, now it's sounds robust and full, like the original. I'm talking about the original PT100 mating 212 cabinet, you know, just getting enough depth that there's enough volume inside the cabinet space. I mean, volume. That, you know, there's some bass that develops and stuff. So with this cab, it's similar. It's deeper than the head, you know, it's, you know, and it's got a great full, compact but full character. I don't know how else to describe it. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. I use a 112 closed back and a 112 open back, says Arthur. That can be nice too. I did the last gig I did with Chris Cornell. Actually, I used an open back 212 and a closed back. I thought I want to try this because I had both, and so I used one PT100 actually with an open back cab, which I've never done in another gig. That was the only time I ever tried that. Open back 212, closed back 212. I thought it sounded cool, and it kind of spread the sound around the stage a little bit more too, which was nice. Like on a club stage, it's not so focused, and you know, it's kind of neat when the sound, you know, combos are cool in a way. So must have been fun to experiment with John Suhr. A great opportunity to learn. Absolutely. And I torment him all the time, and he puts up with me. He gets frustrated with me, but he still puts up with me. So we love him. He's a lot of fun. Some really fun times actually working with him and trying different things. And it's a little, I always say, like going to the eye doctor, and when they put the things in front of your eyes, and like, is this better or is this better? Is this better or is this better? You know? And him putting parts in the amp and or taking parts out and saying, this better or is this better? You know, you're playing and like listening while he's got his hands in the amp. I love that stuff. Great. Really fun. That's when I feel like we're getting somewhere. Nathan says Jennifer Batten can manage with her 112 since she travels a lot. She's always down with the portable rigs, that's for sure. I mean, I think she's even done some laptop stuff and, you know, using, you know, portable stuff. You know, I'm actually interested to try. I was thinking about putting out a video this week. Tell me what you guys think about this, about stereo rigs, how to get stereo out of one amplifier. Because this is something that with the advent of load boxes, reactive loads and stuff, it's pretty easy to do now. So like on my pedal board, I'll go into my board, my switcher and all the drives and phase 90 and compressor and stuff, and then it goes out to the front of the amp. And then generally speaking, what I'll do is I'll send and return using the effects loop in my amp out to my time-based stuff, my 2H9s and my Boss delay. And I'm running in mono. That's what I did on my last tour. But there's another way you can do it, which is I can take the output of my amplifier, the line output, that's already got the IRs on it, right? So it's the line out, and I can run that out back to my pedal board and go into my effects, split the stereo and take the outputs of the pedal board and go straight to the PA and monitors. So now I'm running through the H9s and the Boss post amplifier and post speaker simulation and adding effects that way. And if you wanted to even do it parallel, you can add a mixer at that point, you know, and run a dry through line, and then mix in your effects in parallel if you want, and then send out a stereo signal to the house. So it's another way to do it. So I thought I'd make a video on this, because anybody that's got a 2-note or a reactive load, you know, or my PT15 head, you could be running a stereo rig. You know, could use a pair of these or something, the head rush for monitoring. You know, you wouldn't have a guitar cab at that point. If you did, you could plug the speaker output of the amp into a guitar cab, it just wouldn't have your effects in it. Maybe that's cool. I don't know. If you're only listening in in-ears, it would be fine actually, because you could get feedback out of the cabinet, you know. So there's a number of different things you can do, but I think I'm doing a video on this week, like how to get stereo, because I realize that not a lot of people maybe realize you can even do that, but it's one way to do it, you know. And I recorded yesterday using it, doing some stuff in here, and it sounds great. It's just a cool way out of it, you know, something like a PT15 to split into stereo. And you know, John was actually asking me about it, and he's like, how would you do this? Like if you want to do stereo, do you need 2 amps or whatever? I'm like, well, you could do 2 amps, but you don't have to. And he's like, wouldn't it be better? And I'm like, not really. It doesn't really matter. I don't think. You could just split to going into your effects, and then it sounds great. Like, especially if you're kind of more an effecty kind of player, that generally uses, some, I mean, it sounded amazing for everything. I made a bank of presets on my switcher, for everything from Leslie to ambient, with, I had an RE201 style delay up on my, which sounds great. The Boss DD500 is a really interesting delay. It's like, it's really deep, and I haven't spent it. I've used it for years now in tour, and I swear to God, I haven't gotten deep enough into it. The RE201, when mixed prominently loud and using like 2 of the heads and really blending in some of the wow and flutter and stuff, like, wow, this sounds great. Like, and I've never even used it. It's really cool. But anyway, doing some of that with this setup, mixing in a little bit of the earth reverb on my H9, and then maybe adding in, some, I don't know, it's cool. Yeah. Anybody interested in that? How to get stereo out of a mono amp when playing live, especially if you use in-ears, or maybe you want to do some recording at home. Peter Evans says yes. Pretty simple. If you've got a reactive load, you can do this, and you can get a very sophisticated stereo, huge sound going just out of one amp. George says that he saw the Tone Talk with John Suhr and me, and he says his products are super classy. I agree. He's a classy guy. He's just obsessed with quality. So he's good morning from Manila. Somebody's over there in Manila. I don't want to screw up your name, so I'm not going to say it because I will screw it up. But hello, Philippines. I had fun in Manila many years ago. Thomas says, can you ask John Suhr to send you a PT15 112 for you to demo using your PT15 amp? You're absolutely actually right. I don't even have one. So, but I should probably have one, shouldn't I? Yeah, I mean, it's a creamback. I guess I could, I could mic up the 2 different ones and show you guys what they sound like. It might be a cool video to hear the 112 as opposed to this cabinet and blended. Maybe I'll ask them to make it out there. Deshaun is up there in the super chat. What's up, man? Thanks for doing that. Little station identification. Thanks to Sean for doing the super chat. I appreciate that, you guys. And also, if you like supporting the channel and what I do, there's a link to Sweetwater, the nice folks at Sweetwater. If you need kazoos or banjo strings or whatever it is that you need, it's down in the video description below. That always helps the channel. Okay, on to your question. Pete, want Thornbuckers play Epiphone BB King Lucille semi-hollow. That should sound good. I mean, a nice upgrade in that guitar. Sound and head is Rush Working Man. Yeah, that'll totally be a good pickup for that, I would say. Just like Harsh High End from Gibson 57 BB will play clean, medium, and dirty gain. I don't find a Gibson 57 necessarily very harsh sounding. That's an Alnico 2 humbucker with matched coils. I find them kind of warm, actually, if anything. But maybe what you want to do is just roll your tone control down on your guitar hair, which is totally fine to do. But Alnico 4, you're going to get a different sound out of my pickups a little bit. So the burst bucker is also Alnico 2, I think. I think they made some with 5. I don't know. They made so many versions of that pickup, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure Gibson 57 Classic is a Tom Holmes designed, actually, match coil Alnico 2 pickup. I always kind of liked them, to be honest. I thought they were a pretty good sounding pickup. But that was one of my more, like out of the newer Gibson pickups, one of the ones that I kind of like. That's just me. Aquila says, I have an amp and load box setup, but I find myself using plug-in amps mostly because the sound in the DAW is so similar that setting up the amp is not worth it for just playing at home. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like whatever gets you to, practice Nirvana at home, is what's most important, and sometimes I don't have that enough here. Like I'm actually going to make a bank of, I got to get on this, but Helix patches, and I've started, but I want to have that. So I've always got something to plug into and just practice. So it can just be, boom, into the model, or I just want to play. I don't want to think about equipment for a minute. And I've always got the ability to be going to the Helix. If I just plug my cable into my ADB box here, I can literally push 2 buttons and be rocking through that. So anyways, Yeah, the most important thing is playing and practicing always. The gear just helps us. Lots of you guys say you want to see the stereo video, so I'll show you some of these sounds I made this week. If it'll be a quick video for me to make, because I make like 6 sounds: a slow Leslie, a fast Leslie, a couple different ambient things, a lo-fi sound that's really cool using the Mobius. I love using the Mobius lo-fi filter settings with the vinyl. It kind of sounds like warped vinyl when you mix in the mod. It's like, and you can play a part and it sounds like a broken record, sort of. It's cool. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, except when I do. Is that Soldano a new edition? Yeah, sort of a new edition. SLO 100, new one. Sounds great. It's cool. I just wanted to have a couple other high gain flavors in here, because I had a lot of kind of like, my only high gain amp was really my PT 100, really, with the boost and everything in it. And I thought I should get a couple other, just for, when you're doing a track and you want to record and have one amp on one side and one on the other in stereo or whatever, double track, get some variety. So I've got that. I went into, high gain research land or whatever, and just decided that was a classic kind of, thing that I should have. It's different. It's got its own thing. The Soldano to me is like this kind of big grained distortion and real grindy, and cool, and the single notes are pretty big. They're not the tightest amps in the world, there's a lot of gain, and there's a fair amount of low end, I think, in the gain. And it's got a nice sound for solos and stuff. It's kind of easy to play, actually. That's what I find. It's not like a compressed thing necessarily, but it's like, well, there's compression for sure. It's, I think, why Eddie Van Halen ended up going to them and like, and stuff. It was just like maybe easier. You don't have to work so hard as like, so it's a neat sound to have in the arsenal. A Very Dead Horse is up there in the super chat, and he says, I'm missing a bass and thinking about picking up a Gibson DC tribute bass. I don't know, DC, what's that? Is there any particular bass you like? I'm thinking short scale for comfort, you say. Well, I've kind of gone the other way, but dude, my bass is, I love my bass. Like, it's one of the best instruments I own. Let's just get it. And it's completely not what you're doing, but I've got this guy though. This is my Warwick, a streamer. So I've loved these Inspectors since the 80s. And to me, they sound like nothing else. It's got this sustain that is, it's got ferocious sustain, and it sounds like a piano. It reminds me of like going and hitting the key on the piano with the sustain pedal on. And in a track, it's just, I don't know. I love it. Now, so it's like this, a P bass, and a Hofner are my favorite bass sounds. It's just 3 completely different bass sounds. But this, for the, through distortion and stuff, this is really speaks. And I only use this pickup. I only use the P pickup. I never use this one. I'm always mixed on this one. There's an active preamp in it, and I boost the mids sometimes, because it really makes the, just cut through the mix, a little bit more of that, and on this pickup. And it is just clear and rocking. You can add a little bit of grind to the bass, and it's up my game. I mean, if you guys, when I got it, it's like the bass sounds improved dramatically on my recordings, I think. It's neck through. It's just completely opposite to whatever guitars I play, really. And it's pretty long scale, I think. It's definitely like you're out there when you're down here, so it's not short scale. But I appreciate the short scale basses, like the Fender, what is it, a Mustang bass or whatever. Those are cool, and it's a different thing. And I love a Hofner, that whole boom, 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 boom that a Hofner does. The hollow body is a beautiful thing. And then a P bass to me is like the Chevy truck of basses or whatever, or Ford truck of basses. It just gets the job done and sounds familiar and is a workhorse, So I really want to, I'd love to have a vintage P bass, a 65 Fender P, that's nice, kind of worth the money to me. I would actually, you can get them for like, it's not crazy money for this. It's not like buying an old Strat or something. Let's see if we can do this without dropping it on camera. There we go. I love that thing. I love playing bass on stuff. I love, it's time to play bass when I'm writing a track, and I get that thing out, and I really enjoy playing it. So it's one of my favorite instruments, honestly. But yeah, Vintage P, Hofner, that thing for like modern, just clarity and everything. Good times. What else have we got here? Amps I've been using for live recently are the Fender Cyber Deluxe, says Harley. That's interesting. How do you like that thing? And my Fender Vibrolux Reverb from 73, lighter than my twins, but all the effects I use are there. A little reverb and tremolo and all that. Hey, man, whatever gets the job done, light is important these days, especially as we age. My poor back. That's really the concept behind the PT15. It's light and super versatile and just fine for most gigs, I find. Spectre, says T-Mits. Yeah, so I don't really know the Warwick Spectre thing, but I think like Spectre was the original and then Warwick kind of did a copy of it, but it was somehow okay. I don't know if he gave him permission or what it was, but anyways, the Warwick was very close to the Spectre, so mine's a Warwick. Yeah, nice bass, matching footwear. Yeah, I totally have my red shoes on today. Thank you for noticing. Have you tried stereo amps like the Magnatone, says Thomas? That is one of the best sounding guitar amps I've ever heard in my life. That reissue Magnatone that's stereo with the vibrato or whatever that's in it is absolutely amazing sounding. What a gorgeous sounding amp that is. So yeah, I have tried that, really enjoyed it. And I've come close to getting one a couple times. Completely different than anything else I have, and actually completely different to almost anything else out there. It's unique sounding and incredible. Kemet says Soldano was the amp to have when they came out. Everybody was using his amps, Clapton, Knopfler. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I like the clean channel on it, and I think it sounds pretty cool. And I agree that yeah, a lot of people went to it and started using it. Warren Haynes, he never stopped. It's got a versatile drive thing it just works. It's actually a really good sound for for what it is. It's kind of its own thing. Overall, I prefer my amp, still, but I think it's a unique and neat flavor to play with. I think my amp's with its great Fendery clean and then really true sort of Marshall-y drive channel is more. The Soldano drive sound to me, it's a little bit of a departure. It's got its own thing EQ wise or whatever, and like I say, the distortion is more this kind of big grained thing, and it's 5881s. It's just slightly different, but it's a good sound, like a really good sound. And I actually I used one with Government Mule because I played a set with them once back in 2009. And I used one of Warren's and I really enjoyed it. I felt comfortable on it. I could use it and dial in a sound. I guess like these guys, like when you think about like Clapton and Knopfler, it's like, oh, that's a good sound. And then it's about your fingers and how you play and stuff. Eddie Van Halen moving from a Marshall to the Soldano for a while and then the 5150, oh, it's a good sound. That's easy. I can get it without having to, blow up the amp transformers and all this stuff. And he made an amp that, it's a modern classic. There's no doubt that the Soldano is a modern classic, and he seems like just a terrific guy. I spoke to him for a little while at NAMM, and I think everybody's got a lot of respect for Mike Soldano in the amp business. If I had to pick between the 30 SLO or the EVH 50 watt, what would you get? That's Braxel. Okay, so I tried the 30 and I didn't like it as much as this one. It sounded different to me. It didn't have the same high end to me. That's just me. Maybe it was the day. Maybe I did something wrong. I don't know. But to me, the 100 was the one. So I would get the 100. But that's just my opinion. The EVH 50 watt, I don't know because I've never really messed with those amps very much. The 50, I don't know. And I know they're different than the 100. And there's EL34 versions and 606 versions. I'm not that well versed in it. I should take a trip to the artist EVH room and I guess play through them a little bit and get a little more versed in what they are, and then I would be able to recommend better. Do you have any stereo guitars, says Scott Glenn? I don't. I've never really understand even what you do with them. It's like, isn't it like 2 pickups in the neck and the bridge, and then you can run them through different amps, and probably be kind of cool. Never seemed like it really caught on though, right? Les Pauls and stuff didn't the 70s, some of the Les Paul recording and all that, were they stereo? I don't know. Well, I don't know. What's a less fugly alternative to an X2N for when I want high gain pickup for the Vivian Campbell thing? I mean, a Duncan distortion or Sir Doug Aldrich, Sir. What do they call the hot DS double screw SH or something? I can't remember the names. Sorry, you can look at the Suhr website and see that either they're hot, 14K situation, or I would say Duncan Custom. It sounds like you want a ceramic magnet, so I would say Duncan Custom, Duncan Distortion, the classic Seymour, or the classic DiMarzio Super Distortion. How about an Invader with those great big Allen screw pole pieces? I don't know anything about those pickups, to be honest. I don't have a lot of that. The JB is always a great, to me. It's different because it's Alnico 5. It's warmer in the mids. It's a mid-range bomb, but man, are they fun to play lead with. It's a kind of a one-trick pony to me, a JB. But it's a good trick. It drives the hell out of the front end of the amp in a MIDI way. The distortion is more like or a super distortion, more like a broad sound to me. When you put a ceramic magnet in, it's got that, they're a little cold sounding. Might work for certain things, The JB is not cold sounding. It's all mids and warmth, but it's not very clear if you're trying to play clean with it. It's probably not going to happen unless you roll the volume down on the guitar. But it'll for solos, it's fun. It's easy. It's easier than playing solos with a PAF or something. No doubt about it. Okay, what else we got here? Have you ever played any Gibson amps? Only a little bit, Arthur's asking. Only a little bit. I know they make some stereo stuff too, right? It's interesting, Gibson. I have no bearing. I see them and I'm like, look at that thing. Like, how many of these did they sell? It's like, it doesn't seem like they were very popular back in the day. Like, nobody used Gibsons. Who used Gibson amps? Does anybody out there know? Like, is anybody a famous Gibson amp user? Maybe BB King used them for a while. Maybe he's more. Well, I guess it wasn't Lab owned by Gibson. Actually, it was a Moog thing, but was Moog owned by Gibson? I don't know. I'm talking a lot of crap right now. I'm not really sure. I thought Lab had something to do with Gibson, which was maybe why BB, went to those and was using those. Solid State, maybe more, because I know he was kind of a twin reverb guy, but. Yeah. Can you play a Sing for me? Says Eric. You never close your eyes anymore. No, I'm not gonna do that right now. Okay, what else? Let's see. Lab series. Yes, Gibson was great guitars. Amps, not so much, says Mark. Well, Rhett Scholl plays Gibson amps, says a very dead horse. Yeah, but are they old ones? We're talking about back in the day here with like who made their career on Gibson amps. Like, is there a famous guitar player that was like, yeah, I'm all about this Gibson amp in the 70s or the 60s? I think Bill Frisell's favorite amp is Gibson. Well, he can certainly play guitar. I just don't know. Aquila is saying Viv Campbell with Dio was awesome. I don't know that was Viv Campbell like known for using really high output pickups. I don't know that. I know his signature pickup was the full shred, but it was a 10K affair. I think. I don't think it was super hot. It had didn't have weird pole pieces or something. I had one. I remember going and buying a full shred and putting it in a guitar, and I don't really remember what it sounded like, but I liked the name Full Shred, so I bought it. The marketing worked on me. Anyways, hey, I just got the complete 13 in your preset rocks in GR6 Pro, says Samuel. Yeah, I did some Guitar Rig 6 presets. You like them? Thank you. I really like the bass preset I did in there with the dirty sound. That's a fun one for rock bass, if you haven't tried that one yet. But yeah, I'd like some of the other ones that I did that were kind of with the 5150 style amp as well as the Marshall amp. Yeah. For that majestic baritone voice, I'll slap down 5, says Red Clover. What's up, man? Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to do voiceover. I need to get into voiceover and quit this guitar crap. Come on. In a land before time. I could do it. I know I could make some money. I can put some people out of work. No, I don't know why I think of that, but like I think about movie trailers. In a land before time. Have I got the gig? I got to get into it. It's where the money's at. Hardee's commercials, says Mark. Okay. We're totally getting off topic here. Joe Wright Music says, late to the party. Did you mention the telly behind you? It's a 66. It's a really good guitar with a kind of an odd neck where somebody went a little crazy with the sandpaper, I think, but that makes it affordable. It's not dissimilar to a 63 or a 61 at all. 66 still lacquer, so it's a maple neck rosewood board, obviously. Fully 1966. It's a CBS era guitar, but really great guitar. I had to get new pickups because the neck pickup was a little intermittent, and the bridge pickup was, as they do sometimes, the 60s ones, the plate warped, and it was very microphonic. So like I'm talking, hit a tube screamer in front of a Fender at a moderate volume, and it would feed back like a Banshee. Impossible to play live. So I pulled the pickups out, and I got a set of Ron Ellis pickups for it, and it sounds absolutely spectacular with those pickups. He makes great pickups. And that's it pretty much, but I love that guitar. It's a great guitar. What about Mesa amps? Have you tried the Mesa Lone Star Clean, says Thomas. I've never tried a real Lone Star, maybe once in the Mesa store in Hollywood, which I hear is no longer there, which is sad because I used to enjoy going in there. But the Lone Star, it's interesting you say, is my clean amp of choice in the Helix. So as with modelers, they're great introduction to amps that you might not get a chance to try in the real world, or maybe they whet your appetite to try one. But it's called the Texas Channel 1 or something, or can't remember what they call it. But that is my favorite clean sound in the Helix, and I think it sounds great. So I would say in the real world, I would probably like it too. And Mesa always pretty good clean sounds. I mean, obviously Fender based cleans and stuff like that. So I bet I'd really enjoy it. I think overall I'd probably enjoy the Lone Star. It seems like more my kind of speed. I've owned a lot of Mesa amps. So you say, what about Mesa? One of my first good amps was a Caliber 50, the original EL34 model that was 50 watts with 4 EL84s, kind of weird. And they only had it out for a year or something because I think they found that it ran kind of hot and would cook tubes a lot. So they changed to the Caliber 50 Plus, which had 2 6L6s instead. And that was not the same sounding amp to me. But I enjoyed the Caliber 50 for the short time I had it. I traded it in and got a studio preamp and a 295 power amp. And I played that for a number of years with 2 of their vertical 212 cabinets. I had that for probably like 5 years. Later on, I got a 3-channel dual rectifier. I had one of their 2020 power amps that I used for a little while in a rack. And I also had a Mark III at one point in the 90s, and I absolutely despised that amplifier. But the dual rectifier I liked, and I cut a whole record with it. The 40-foot Echo record was made with the dual rectifier. My Top Hat made it on a few solos, and other than that, the entire record was the dual rectifier. So I've owned a number of them over the years. I have. Cod Swinger up there in the super chat. Thanks. You're a good man. Appreciate that. Thank you for your contributions to my contribution to the guitar community. He says, why a pedal board and floor switcher instead of pedals in an easy, no bending over rack slide shelf, rack loops, short cables to the amp, and a Mastermind GT, etc.? What am I missing? Please educate me. Okay, so basically you're asking why not do pedals on a drawer in a small 6-space rack or something and just have a MIDI controller on the floor. The number one thing to me, first of all, the pedal switchers these days can kind of do it all. So the option of having everything in one is the main thing, as opposed to having 2 pieces, a floorboard and a rack. 2 pieces of gear instead of 1 piece of gear. 1 piece of gear always kind of trumps 2 pieces of gear. Well, as long as it sounds as good, which I find it does, generally speaking. I like the fact that I can just carry my pedal board in and out of the trunk of my car and not need a rack and a separate thing connect. I I don't. It's not without its drawbacks. You're right there. I know Bob Bradshaw, for one, much prefers to have the separate foot controller and stuff. He doesn't like having everything on. And if you think about a Bradshaw foot controller, if anybody remembers kind of how they are, what's great about it is you can assign the buttons to do anything, and you can have your presets in a row, but then you can also have individual on-off buttons for everything because there's enough real estate there to do that, right? On the foot controller. Now, with foot controllers, though, everybody's wants small portable these days. Of course, you shrink them down. Now you need to make multiple menus that you get through where you've got maybe your presets. Now you hit a switch. Now the preset buttons turn into instant access switches for each of the individual effects. Hit it again. Maybe it goes to another menu. So certainly that is the way that my foot controller is. FX Mark V, which is about the same size as the EX8 or ES8 or whatever from Boss. It's a size versus functionality thing. I personally, I'm fine with the pedal board. I don't really miss my racks. I don't miss carrying them. I'd always be trying to come up with a rack that I could carry easily myself. Why don't I get it in an SKB and then I can just drop it in a road case? Now I got a road case too, and it was like separate pieces of gear. So the fact that I can have a Pelican case I can drop my pedal board into and ship it, and it works great and does everything I need it to do. I've gone this pedal board route and got rid of the rack 10 years ago, and I don't think I'll ever go back to a rack. That said, do I miss some of that gear? Sure. It'd be nice to have. It was neat having I'll tell you another advantage to the pedal board is that with the pedals in the rack, you've always got to go back there to turn the knobs, right? Or if you got a dual function pedal, you can't access it because it's not, the foot switch is not there on the board. So then you need some sort of control logic switching and all that crap. I don't miss any of that. I like having everything there so that I can get to it and change the knob on the floor without having to walk back to the rack. So there's advantages and disadvantages to each way, I would say. Main advantage to the rack, maybe everything's safer in the rack, not getting beer dumped on it and on the floor in front of you. The board can flex, and it's all heavy putting a lot of pedals in a switcher on a board for sure. So there's advantages to having a good solid rack. If I was touring and I was Slash or something, and that's all I was doing, I might go the route of the rack. If it was like, it depends on what you're doing in your band. For me, it's just the pedal board. A good sturdy light pedal board kind of wins out. It works for me. Todd Roy always wanted me to do the Richie Kotzen interview or have him here on my show. And I'm always promising that I'll try and make that happen. Thanks, Todd. He says, coffee money for when you chat with Richie Kotzen up there in the super chat. Thanks, dude, for being here. I appreciate it. I do. But yeah. I really think it's just a matter of, what it is you're doing. The fact of the matter is I can get on an airplane. I've done it, flown to Japan with my pedal board. I've flown to England with my pedal board in a case, and it's overweight. I have to pay usually $100 or something, but I can do it. I don't need to fly two pieces, and a rack would probably be you'd have to cargo a rack. The last time I had a rack, it was 12 spaces because you're like, well, I want this and this. I'm going to do a rack. I'm going to get, so it's like, then you got to cargo it. But with my pedal board and a few guitars, and if I got if there's an amp I can get overseas, like my PT15, the Suhr distributor hooked me up with one the last time I did a tour in England. So I flew my pedal board and some guitars, and I can do that on a commercial flight with my current setup. So it's really nice, I find. Christina says, my boyfriend Neil is a huge fan, watches you every Sunday. Today is his birthday. Can you please wish him a happy birthday? Everybody, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Neil. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dude. Hope you have a great birthday. Great rest of your Sunday. And thanks for watching every week. Thank you. Backing Tracks video says, what's your favorite overdrive pedal? Well, I don't really have a favorite, but what's on my board right now? I've got a Timmy sitting down there. I've got a Jan Ray. I've got a Bogner Blue, and I've got a Rocket Archer, which has been my main lead kind of pedal that I'll hit a dirty amp with for many years. What else have we got here? What else have we got here? I can't imagine Slash using a mega pedal board. Wah and some delay in the loop is about it for him, says Aquila. Yeah, but you know what? He's got a big rack. That's right. I said Slash has a big rack. You heard me say it here. No, I know because Friedman does it, and I've seen him work on his gear. He's got, like with most guys, he's got redundant everything. So he'll have, he's got I think he's got a chorus and actually he does a pedal board, I think. I can't remember what's on the floor and what's in the rack, but he uses those rack wahs, those Dunlop rack wahs. So there's 2 of those in the rack. I know that. And then he does have some stuff like a chorus, I think, maybe an EQ pedal. Oh God, I don't really remember. We'd be able to find photos of this easily online or something, I think. But anyway, he's got a few pieces of gear, outboard stuff. Will you be having Brian Ray as a guest? I should ask him. I haven't yet. I'm sorry, but I would like to do that. I hope he'd probably say yes. I think he would. Michael says, thanks for all your positivity during this difficult time in our history. You are a breath of fresh air. Thanks, man. You guys too. You guys are a breath of fresh air. It always makes me, I'm just as sucked into the news cycle and everything as anybody. And when I'm here and you guys are asking me guitar questions, I don't think about it for 2 hours. So it's nice. It's therapy for me too. So thanks for being here. And it's almost time to go. It's 1:18, so I'll take a few more questions and stuff, and then I'm going to split and get on with my work. I got so many videos to make. There's Black Friday coming out, so there's all kinds of stuff. Why don't I show you what I've got to do? I'll just show you now. I'm going to show you these because they already put up photos of them online. So I'm going to show them from a distance. There's this one. And there's this one. It's a reverb tremolo and a mini overdrive. So I've got those coming, videos for those. I got others that haven't been announced that I can't show you. I got like 8 videos to make in the next 2 weeks or something at least. So I gotta make some videos, but I'm gonna get on with that. A few minutes here. Gonna make a video for this too. I've owed them this for a little while, but the MXR tremolo, which isn't just a tremolo, I don't think. I think it does some other fun stuff. It's got a few tricks up its sleeve, so we'll see once I get in there. But it's like, I like this new thing that they've got with the LEDs and the different style, and it's all in a small pedal, but you push this button to go through the various different types of things that it does. And I don't know, we're going to check that out. Luke Guitar is up there in the super duper top chat, and he says he uses he sees the EVH Wolfgang on the wall behind you. I recently sold mine, really regret it. Should I buy another one? Yeah. Which year or country of origin is the best? Honestly, I don't know. I think that I've played the flat top special version that they were made in Japan for a while, and I don't know if they are now, but Dave Friedman has a black one. It's a nice guitar. I've got the USA one. It's a nice guitar. I think it's whatever speaks to you, I don't know where they make the current ones, to be honest. I have no idea. They've changed so much, but just, try them out and see guitars are so good these days, it's like, and it's a simple guitar, maple neck guitar with, I would probably, if I was going to get one now and I didn't have one, I think I would go with, aren't they like $1,000? The, probably made in Mexico version, the Wolfgang Special or something they're called. I would probably go that route. I don't know why. It's just what I feel like right now. That's what I would do. Nice guitars though. I enjoy mine. I still use it on videos and stuff all the time. Bust it out sometimes, and it's a good guitar. They have a kind of unique feel to them that I find like I need to get used to for a minute when the shape of the body and stuff, the way it sits, almost like an SG. It's a unique thing when you start playing it. And then you get into it after a few minutes, and then you pick up another guitar and you got to adjust back to the other guitar, So that's the only thing, but I do enjoy it. I find sometimes for difficult passages, it's best sitting on this leg, on my left leg, like a classical guitar. I don't know why that is, but for some things, the angle that it sits at on my right leg is a little weird for certain things. And other than that, you know, I really like it. Not even a criticism, really. I just put it on my other leg and it works fine. So Peter Evans says, thanks for another great Sunday show. Something for the coffee fund. Thanks, man. Thank you guys so much. You guys are all too kind. Thank you for supporting me every week and being here. And SC Design says, I thought it was SD Design. It's SC Design. It says, Walrus Audio makes good stuff. They do. They make some cool. I've done some videos for them. Dustin Askew Guitar says, thanks for your wealth of knowledge. I'm a knucklehead, really. But I think you're saying my rig is 80s JCM and a TS-808, early OCD with Les Paul VOS, but 3 gigs this year, so I'm bored. How could I use a 31 band EQ in front of the amp? I think a 31 band EQ, to be honest, is great in the loop, but I don't know if I would use one in front of the amp. I mean, you could. Nothing saying you couldn't. It's generally probably the 31 band is probably a line level piece of gear, though, as well. They tend to work well in effects loops. So if you want to put something in front of the amp, I would recommend just getting a 10-band MXR graphic, which I think is a terrific pedal. That or the Boss, or there's the XTS version. You know, they make a slightly upgraded GE7. But I would get something like a GE7, or the EQ200 is the other Boss that I've tried and really enjoyed, both in front. Check out my video for the EQ200. It's a really cool Boss that you can use both in front of the amp and in the loop of the amp at the same time. It's actually got 2 EQs in it. And it's amazing when you get one. I really got into that video. If you watch the video I made with it, the amount of different tones you can get and sort of sculpting the sound of the amp. It's almost like getting a new amp if you put it in the loop, especially. And in front, you can really tighten up. You know, if you got a hot pickup in front of an amp that's not necessarily very tight, and you find it flubby, and you can really tighten that up by, you know, boosting the mids and cutting the bass in front of your amp. And it's like, whoa, it's almost like I got a different pickup or a different, you know, it's like a infinitely variable thing that you can fine tune your rig with. So an EQ is really fun. But 31 band, I remember guys using 31 bands in loops in the 80s or in different types of rigs, but never in front. So Thomas says, hey, Pete, do you have a neural? I assume you mean that new neural DSP modeler thing. They've talked to me about making a demo for it, but I think they had a little delay or something. Don't quote me on that, but they said we'll get back to you in a bit because we're just dealing with some issues, and I don't know. Haven't heard from them since. So I assume I'll be doing a video of it here eventually. Have Alex Lifeson on. God, I would love to have Alex Lifeson on. That'd be amazing. Anybody else? Got a XTS GE7 coming, says Mike. Let us know how you like it. I'm interested in that, like the upgrades or whatever they do to it. I'm just curious, you know. Bruno says, I just enjoy the Nux or Nuex. I always say that wrong. I want to say Nux. Cerberus. You've introduced a real nice thing, not too expensive, but so efficient. That is a nice piece of gear, Bruno. I agree. The Nuex Cerberus. Simple multi-effect thing that does pretty much everything you could need for, I mean, maybe not for some people, but it's very versatile and a great all-in-one unit. I agree. They're a good company. They make cool stuff. Why do people like Klon style pedals so much? I never got one, says Aquila. They just do this kind of nice, fat, friendly thing in front of an amp. More gain, big round notes. Everything's easier to play. Cool sound. And they sound more natural to me than a TS style pedal, generally speaking. Unless you get a really good tube screamer. Tube screamers vary a lot from TS-808s to TS9s to, you know, and they can kind of sound like that layer of clean over dirty thing. A Klon never sounds like that. They've got a different, they're similar in a way that they, you know, it's, you turn it on and the mids definitely fill in, but it's different than a tube screamer and kind of more natural. Yeah. And they can sound good for rhythm or for dirty cleans, but they can also sound good boosting a dirty amp into the lead territory. Steven's from Waterloo, Canada. He says, it's stormy and my backyard table is starting to vibrate. May go airborne. You should probably go and deal with that. Don't lose your table. Thanks for the response, says Dustin Askew Guitar up there in the super chat. You bet, man. No problem. I appreciate you guys doing the super chat. Arturo is up there in the super chat. He says, hola, Pete. What's up, man? Good to see you. Is it worth importing third-party IRs into the Helix? Yes. I like the built-in sounds, but wondering if it make a big difference. It does make a big difference. Changes the sound a lot. So I would start off with whatever speaker you like in the real world, in a cabinet that you like. You know, if you like a greenback and a 412, get some Celestion greenback and a 412 packs. You know, I think they're only like, I mean, it's cheap, right? To just get one cabinet and try loading them in there. It's really pretty easy, the Helix, using the editor. And, you know, like for instance, my favorite thing in the Helix, as far as say a dirty Marshall sound, is use the Placator amp, which is the Friedman BE100 style, and put just the 121 and 57 high gain Celestion mix greenback 412, that IR. Put that, just 2 blocks in the Helix with the Placator and that, and tell me it's not a great sound. Really great. Really great. And on that note, it's kind of sad. I got to go to work. I'm here in this chair. I'm not going to go anywhere else, but I am going to go to work. I'm going to get to work. Thoughts on brass block trims? Just upgraded, and wow, sustaining clarity boost, says Paul Floyd. Now, I haven't really done that stuff. I haven't changed out blocks, but that's cool. If it worked, it worked. Eric Johnson says, I recently found out Zach Wild likes Marshall-style amps with built-in overdrive as part of the preamp. That wouldn't surprise me because he always used a drive in front. So do you know of many quality amps like this? The Marshall Ingve model, look like a Plexi, has an OD250 built in, basically. So that would be one. That's the one that came to mind. Doesn't the Kerry King have a overdrive circuit of some sort? It's like a JCM 800 with some sort of drive built in, the Marshall. These are amps I don't know if they make anymore even, but you could look for those. And Steven says, thanks for 2 hours of sanity, Pete. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here, you guys. Stay safe out there. We're getting through it. Year's almost over. I don't know what difference it'd make. January 1, 2021. It's not about the year, is it, really? But let's just hope that next year's easier than this one. All right. Love y'all. Thanks for being here. I'm going to split. Everybody have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Thanks again, guys.